Okay.
The Women in Business Show, brought to you by Promo Experts. Promo Experts is a one-stop, full-service marketing company. They can help you get noticed with top-notch creative graphic design, marketing strategy, video production, digital marketing, and promotional products to move you forward. Okay, audience, here's your host of the Women in Business Show, Diane Carson.
Hello, listeners. Welcome to the show. My name is Diane Carson, and I am the host of the Women in Business Show on KWRH 92.9 FM and the owner of Promo Experts, a marketing, public relations, and promotional distribution company. This show airs on KWRH 92.9 FM and KXOK 102.9 FM on Sunday at noon and streams daily the following week at 11 and 2 p.m. on My Genre Radio through Zeno FM. Each week, we interview a successful business owner or an expert, and we have a real expert today, who can provide advice to our women business owner listeners, providing them insight into their business, or to women who are just starting a business, thinking about leaving their corporate jobs to enter the world of entrepreneurship, or who want to move their business or professional life to the next level. We hope you'll gain at least one good nugget that you can put into practice in your business or professional life immediately. Today, we're talking with Rhonda Gray. She's the Vice President, Strategy and Innovation of Wrong for Women, a nonprofit based in St. Louis, Missouri, focusing on helping women to launch careers in fields where they are underrepresented, such as technology. Here's a short bio on Rhonda. Well, it's short, but it says a lot. As Vice President, Strategy and Innovation at Wrong for Women, Rhonda Gray oversees the planning and implementation of the organization's strategy, development of new business models, and strategies for expansion. Prior to her role at Wrong, Rhonda was a business performance advisor with Insperity. Before joining Insperity, she served as a consultant with Collaborative Strategies Incorporated. Prior to CSI, Rhonda was executive director of Almost Home, a local nonprofit which provides transitional housing for homeless young mothers and their children. Rhonda has worked also as a community investment manager with the United Way of Greater St. Louis and as associate director of the Vashon Education Compact, an organization that partnered with the St. Louis Public Schools to improve the quality of education for students in St. Louis City. A relentless agent for change, Rhonda is passionate about supporting women in reaching their full potential and achieving the success they deserve. Throughout her career, she has served as a mentor to youth and volunteers on several nonprofit boards. A native of St. Louis, Rhonda obtained her bachelor's degrees in English and business from Alabama A&M University. She has a master's degree in counseling from the University of Missouri St. Louis. And Rhonda is also a certified facilitator with the Entrepreneur Leader Institute. So before we chat with Rhonda, let's talk about how she applies that amazing background at Wrong. So more and more women are continuing to express variations of the same thing. They're tired, exhausted, and feeling stuck. They want to do work that's meaningful and lights them up. They want to earn money doing something they feel aligns with their values, something that's an expression of who they really are. They don't want to keep playing a role and being a contortionist who feels that she has to put on an act to be valued, known, and successful professionally. Maybe some of you can relate. I know I certainly can. My guest today, Rhonda Gray, says she can totally relate. According to Rhonda, during her career, she felt like she was living the ultimate paradox. She wanted to be outstanding in her work, but was unsure of how to stand out. If you feel like you're working hard, networking, sharing your expertise, yet you're still not getting the results you want or having the impact you want in your business or your career, today's show is for you. So let's welcome Rhonda to the show. And let's lead it off with an important question. How can you provide some background and context to what you see as the challenges women are facing in their careers in business.
Oh, well, thank you, Diane. First of all, that as you were reading my intro, I was like, "Whoa,
Is that really me?
Is that really me?
It really
What
is
she
you,
talking
Rhonda.
about? And when did I have time to do
You're
all of
amazing.
that?
You should say the amazing one.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. In terms of some background and context of what really made me want to address this particular challenge facing women, it's not only a challenge facing women. It is we live in a noisy world. Things have changed considerably. I would say, certainly in the last, decade, certainly in the last couple years since the pandemic hit. And one of the things that I've seen throughout my career is women who were working extremely hard. They were going back to school. They were getting multiple degrees. They were getting skilled, and yet they still were working in jobs in which they were underpaid, undervalued, and didn't feel like it aligned with who they were. And so my question was, why aren't they getting the breakthrough that they are aspiring to? It's certainly not because they are not smart enough. And it turned out it's because they didn't have the most valuable currency that all of us want from others, which is the attention. How do you get others to know what your value is? How do you become memorable and relatable to people in a way that will make them remember you when it is they need the good or services
I
you
guess without
provide?
becoming a threat to somebody.
Without becoming
Right.
a threat to
Mhm.
somebody,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what inspired you to want to encourage women for becoming more influential and changing the way they approach their careers?
Well, I would say it's a combination of personal and professional experience. From a professional standpoint, I have always been committed to women, economic development and education. Those are just two of my passions. And I've done work, as you read in my bio, it's always the through line has been around how do I support women in particular, but I've supported males as well. But how do I support women and young girls in really elevating themselves and so that they don't feel like they're just going through the motions and only to play a game that they feel is rigged
Mhm.
against them.
Right.
And so I noticed that in my own professional career, I was doing all those things and climbing that ladder that I thought I was supposed to climb and kept feeling like I was hitting a proverbial glass ceiling and it started feeling like a brick wall.
Mhm.
And so my work at Wrong perfectly aligns in terms of the mission of the work we do there. But I had already made a decision that I am going to make an impact in this space, especially for women.
Right. Yeah. Well, I noticed that you did a lot with youngsters. So I'm
Mhm.
sure you were a great mentor and a great role model. So-
Well, I've mentored quite a few young women, and some of them are doing very well.
I was
But
going to say,
this-
can you tell us some of the ones that have?
Yeah. So, as even prior to my role as executive director of Almost Home, I served as a mentor in various capacities. Back when now defunct, I think Mentor St. Louis at the time was an organization. I partnered with some of the school districts in mentoring high school
Mhm.
seniors.
Mhm.
And, many of those young women were trying to make decisions about should they go to college,
Mhm.
should they stay home and work and help support their families, really at a crossroads in their life. And so a lot of the mentoring I did was around, I always felt like I was in the business of belief, and I
Mhm.
still am. How do you get people to believe in what's possible for
Mhm.
them beyond what they see in their immediate environment?
Mhm.
And so I've had several of the young women that I work with, they have gone on, whether they've gone to college and graduated. Some of them chose not to go to college and
Mhm.
got short-term skills training.
Right.
Many of them came from some very difficult backgrounds. Certainly at Almost Home, those young women, many of them were living on the streets
Mhm.
or, living in domestic violence shelters. And to see somebody go from that to getting, their education and getting a job, saving money, getting their first apartment, then buying a house.
Mhm.
I have one of my former clients who's now started her own business.
Wow. Wow.
She probably would be great for the show,
Wow.
but she is doing. They're doing really well, and it's that to me is what I want my legacy to be about. How do I pour into other young women?
Okay. And so what are some of the tactics that you used? I mean, obviously it didn't happen overnight. So
No,
yeah. Right.
Nothing with dealing with complex human beings happens overnight.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, Diane, is how do you shift somebody's perspective about how they see themselves and their place in the world? That's, I used to try to start with the very tactical things of, okay, you need to get in school, you need to sign up to get your GED, you need and those are the things that they've already thought of themselves.
Right. It's like, where's my why?
Exactly. It occurred to me, well, there's a reason why they haven't been doing those things. And oftentimes they were facing, I say, the biggest barriers between our ears. They were facing a lot of the beliefs and ideas that have been, imposed on them by others in their lives. And overcoming that is a difficult challenge. And it really is almost like a reprogramming or deprogramming and unlearning process. And so that takes a lot of one-on-one. First of all, building a trusting relationship. That's first.
Right.
And then it's just, really consistently being there to help that person reframe their thinking. It certainly helped that I had a background as a therapist in my former life. And so some of that cognitive behavioral reframing came naturally to me.
Right.
It's about a mindset shift. This is all about a mindset shift.
Right. Well, that must have been really difficult for some of them to, what would you say? Look at me, I'm doing that. Don't do as I say, do as I do. Or
no, I would not put that pressure on myself because I wasn't always doing the right thing. But I will say, to your point, modeling. And, there's a ton of research around this. One of the things I used to say when I led my organization was environment drives behavior, and you have to look like the solution.
Right.
And so no matter what, line of work you're in, particularly when you're a nonprofit, but whether you're a teacher, you don't realize how your behavior is impacting the message that you're trying to transmit.
Sure, rubs off on the people around you.
Completely.
Yeah, so if
they listen to what you do, not to what you say.
Right. But that must put a lot of pressure on you, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And particularly as a Black woman and women of color, where there's little or no representation in some areas, it put a lot of pressure on you.
I was going to ask you that if that had any kind of play in some of the difficulties that you might have had coming up the ladder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sense of, which I think is why some women succumb to sort of that pressure of, there is so little representation in many areas professionally, and you become the first or the only, or, there's not many people, not people who look like you. And so then you become sort of the model, the idea for others of how people should be. And that's a lot of pressure.
It is, yeah.
Because, where does the place for authenticity play into that?
Right. But I think that's great that they do have someone like you, that they can model themselves after, that you're not, obviously some of the bigger celebrities with more well-known names and things that are kind of out there, but you're actually right there in front of them. So I think that's amazing. Yeah. I know when I was growing up, you either became a teacher, a secretary, or you went to college. But you went to college to become a teacher. So
yes,
or you got married. So I chose the latter initially. So and that was some as Dr. Phil would say, and how did that work?
Yeah, that worked for you. Yeah, exactly.
So you work at Rung for Women. It's a career accelerator with a mission to inspire all women to climb the economic opportunity ladder. So can you share more about how you're working with them? I know you said you were a mentor and you tried to be a leader and that kind of thing, but what do you when you dig down in the trenches? How do you actually, somebody comes into Rung and says, I know I can do better. What's the first thing that you do?
Well, the amazing thing about Rung, it is really a unique program. Everybody likes to think they're different, but the work we're doing in Rung really is, I think, innovative and cutting edge. First of all, we work with a population of women that in sort of the continuum of services, these are women in the middle. They're right on the cusp of, they're not in crisis.
Mhm.
They're not women who, like in the past, I was working with women who were homeless and coming from domestic violence situations and, other very challenging circumstances. These are women who basically have been working and have found themselves at an impasse. They're stuck.
Right.
And largely because they've gone into careers out of necessity to take care of their families.
Right.
And through some reflection, and now they're asking the question, hey, what is it that I really want to do, and how can I get on a career path and just get out of a job? We say job is just over broke. How can I get on a career pathway that's going to value my experience, my transferable skills, also has that earning potential and growth potential? So Ron's program is designed specifically for that woman. And that's why we focus on areas that are in demand, like technology, advanced manufacturing. We are introducing women to fields that women don't traditionally go into. And one of the really neat things about the way Ron operates is we are preparing those women to not just go into the workplace to get a job, but we have a course we call professional power skills. For instance, how do you navigate real workplace dynamics? It's the dirty little secret that nobody talks about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I like to joke and say, men have those conversations on the golf course. Wrong is that golf course for women.
Okay, great.
So I think the work we're doing there helps develop women in a way that's really guided by the woman themselves. They want to be self-determined and autonomous and really setting a career trajectory. Ron just kind of lays out is a facilitator of it. We facilitate the introductions and training and with employers, and the women are doing the heavy lifting of going through that retraining and upskilling so they can get on these pathways.
So do they all, once they go and maybe get retrained, do they all realize that this is what I really wanted to do? Or are there some that say, well, I thought I wanted to do this, but I really don't?
Yeah, I'm sure. So we do quite a bit of work around exposure and exploration.
Okay.
Because we recognize that women have been socialized to believe, as you just stated, that there are certain careers available to them. You're a teacher, you're a nurse, you got the pink
Not
jobs.
that there's anything wrong with it. I mean, I have the greatest respect for those. But
I certainly have the greatest respect.
Yeah, but not everybody could do it.
Not everybody could do it. And doing it because that's just what you thought you were supposed to do is very different.
Yeah, because you had no choice.
You had no choice.
Right.
And I think that's what we want women to see, that what are your options and choices in the way of your career beyond that sort of narrow scope that you might have gotten, say, in high school, or when somebody said, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
And not only that, if you think about it, how our world is changing and evolving, the career options and opportunities that are available now were not even available 10 years ago, or when many of these women started their careers. So yes, some of them do start off with, I'm interested in technology, and they may say, I think geospatial analyst, and then they look at it and say, cybersecurity is where I want to be.
Right.
And that's okay, because they're still exploring in a different field than they might have considered.
Did you see the look on my face when you said geospatial analyst? Okay, tell us what that is. I saw that on the wrong website.
Oh yeah,
okay.
The data analyst. What Diane, I said the same thing when when I looked at when we made this decision to focus in on these specific career pathways, and I said to my colleague, I said, okay, this is great. We're going to do technology first, and we already had some opportunities with employers who were looking to hire women as data analysts and geospatial, and we were partnering with Maryville University to create this training program. And I said, great, we got to go sell it to women and expose them to it. And then I go, wait, what is it?
What are you going to sell if you don't know what it is?
And my coworker, I'll never forget, she said, pull out your phone. She said, you see that MapQuest and you see the, the GPS?
Okay.
That's geospatial.
Oh, okay.
It's all about, And so I said, oh, okay, I get it. She said, directionally, anything that you see designed that's helping, you orient yourself to geography.
Okay.
That's geospatial.
Okay.
But in the same way that I wasn't familiar with it, even though I used it every day, that's what we do for women. We help them
Wow.
understand
Mhm.
what these careers, and many of them go, I never knew.
So what do you do in geospatial then? What, you design maps, you program maps?
Yeah,
You- okay.
now that's for the experts, but
Okay.
and we actually have a couple staff members who have really taken a deep dive into it.
Wow.
They've become sort of short of subject matter experts on it, so they can support
Okay.
the women in training. But yeah, that's essentially what the bigger picture of what it is.
Right.
Obviously, it's much more
Right,
nuanced and
right.
deep,
Yeah,
technical.
I've heard of geofencing, where
Oh, yeah.
you can pick like a Facebook ad and you can say, I only want this ellipse
Mhm.
around this area. So
Mhm.
is that all included in that type of thing, or is that something
Well,
different?
I'm not sure in terms of the work that the skill set that we're training for. I
Okay.
know many of our employer partners that we work with. I mean, we go out and really talk to employers about what's the skill set, what's the
Mhm.
needs. Many of them have like government contracts,
Mhm.
federal contracts, and as
Right.
it relates to work that
Right.
government entities are
Yeah, so
doing.
they can even maybe look at a map and put a pin in it and say,
Yeah.
you are here. And
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, a
That-
lot of that is classified. Don't get me killed on the show.
Well, like you said, we all use it,
Mhm.
on a regular basis. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
so this is the Women in Business Show, and I know at Rung that you've created a course called Professional Power Skills for
Mhm.
Women. So it's nothing to do with power tools, I'm sure.
No,
So what made you decide to create that course, and what is it? Can you describe that?
Yes, the professional power skills. Well, in short, it's an 8-week, 32-hour course that women, and it initially it started as a course that employers helped sort of, they didn't co-design, they gave a lot of input because employers were expressing a need for their employees to have soft skills. And they kept talking about these soft skills. And I remember I thought there's nothing soft about these skills.
Mm.
Okay. The ability to communicate and problem solve and all of that, that takes some real skill. But beyond that, the thing the employers weren't saying, and I'm not saying it's because they were largely men, but they weren't talking about, for women in particular, how do you navigate
Mhm.
the power dynamics in the workplace,
Mhm.
particularly since the women we work with are going in fields where women are largely underrepresented.
Mhm.
What do you do when
Mhm.
you're the only woman in the
Right.
workplace?
Right.
What do you
Sure.
do when you're the first Black woman, the first woman of color
Mhm.
in the workplace?
Mhm.
And how do you advocate for yourself
Mhm.
and exhibit that kind of self leadership that's going to help you advance in your career?
Mhm.
Once again, oftentimes men make deals on the golf course and they
Mhm.
get mentors and sponsors.
Right.
Women haven't been taught how to do that. And
Mhm.
so, we came together and we had much debate over the word power.
Mm.
And it's interesting to me with the name of your show, women have a sort of um, an interesting relationship with words power and wealth.
Mhm.
And so I intentionally said, well, we're going to use both of those. And
Mhm.
so we named it Professional Power Skills because really that's what it's about,
Mhm.
is how do you claim ownership of
Mhm.
your life
Right.
so that you have access to more power in terms of empowerment over yourself first, and then over to be able to have a greater impact over your community and the larger world.
So it's like it's a coursework. It's like a workbook.
Oh,
Okay.
it's a course led by our staff are trained. They designed the course. They redesigned Professional Power Skills.
Okay.
I just left a meeting where they were talking about they've been demoing it with our staff before they do it with the
Okay.
women we work with. The staff, the course is in modules.
Mhm.
What's neat about it is you work on a module, so you get the in-person classroom training and discussion. There's peer support where you're doing role modeling and
Right. I was going to
practice.
ask you that. Yeah.
Practice is key because
Mhm.
there's one thing that
Mhm.
for an employer to say, hey, we want you to have, great communication skills. Well,
Mhm.
what does that mean?
That's right. Yeah.
Or we want you to have a great attitude. Okay, what does that look
Yeah.
like?
Right. Yeah. Right.
And so we've designed the course so that it's not just theory.
Mhm.
It is actual simulations, role plays, practice.
Mhm.
And even we were just talking before I came over about how do we do sort of a culminating assessment
Mhm.
so that after they finish the entire 32 hours, they can demonstrate that's those skills.
Right.
And I will tell you, it gives women the greatest sense of confidence.
Mm.
because that is one of the things.
So they can
that
handle any situation that
yeah,
comes up.
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
they've already kind of been practiced on it, and they're already aware of what's out there and what they might run into, I guess.
Yeah.
So some of the companies that are you like a placement, or do people call you looking for people, or?
Well, they think I've been talking. I typically am talking to our employer partners, and they either initiate with us for the most part, since we are focused on particular career pathways. Like right now, I'm talking to companies who have jobs in the tech industry, or in advanced manufacturing. So just those areas. But I get calls all the time from banking institutions. Do you have any relationship bankers? Or, I got somebody yesterday said we need forklift operators. Well,
that's great.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break, and tell us how our listeners can get hold of you.
Well, you can get a hold of me. The easiest way is I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. It's Rhonda Gray. It's Rhonda Gray. I'm on Facebook, but I don't check it that often, particularly for work. And Wrong is wrongforwomen.org.
Okay, great. All right, so now we're going to take a short commercial break. This is Women in Business on KWRH 92.9 FM and KXOK 102.9.
Have you always wanted to write your own book but don't know where to start? Publishing Concepts, a publishing company located right here in St. Louis, offers everything from consulting, book printing, copyrights, ISBNs and barcodes, print book layout, ebook and iBook layout, graphic design, cover design, ghostwriting, typing and editing, distribution, marketing, and more for an affordable price. Visit publishingconceptsllc.com or just Google Publishing Concepts to get started today, or call 314-781-8880. That's 314-781-8880. Publishing Concepts. We help you sell more books.
If you're looking for a new informative health and lifestyle show to gain knowledge and inspiration to help guide your journey to think, work, and live more powerfully, then you need to listen to Sage Advice with Melissa. Now, whether you're trying to improve your life from a mental, physical, or spiritual journey, Sage Advice with Melissa Coleman, CEO of Sage Skincare, delivers weekly advice from industry experts to provide you with insightful suggestions to allow you to thrive with a better quality of life. Melissa's mission? To guide you through the uncharted waters of health and wellness and to give you a voice to help improve your life. So be sure to tune in to Melissa. You'll be glad you did.
Hello, listeners. Welcome back to part 2 of our show. If you're just now joining us, you're listening to the Women in Business Show. You can catch us locally every Sunday on KWRH 92.9 FM and KXOK 102 FM at noon, and streaming daily at 11 a.m. on My Genre Radio through Zeno FM at zeno.fm/St. Louis. Today, we're talking with Rhonda Gray, Vice President, Strategy and Innovation at Rung for Women. So before we go any further, can you please tell us again how our listeners can get hold of you and learn more about Rung and more about you?
Absolutely. You can go to our website, www.wrongforwomen.org. You go to the website and you can click right there on my name and you can email me directly. It also has my LinkedIn.
Great. Okay.
Yep. I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, great. So when it comes to women climbing the economic opportunity ladder, how does identity, influence, and impact play a role in helping to elevate women?
Well, identity, influence, and impact is sort of the framework we use with our women, because if you think about it in some concentric circles, it starts with the woman herself and her level of self-awareness and understanding about who she is, what she wants, what she values, because everything is built around that. That's identity. That's the story you tell yourself about yourself. once you have more of an understanding of that, you have the ability then to influence others is about how you can persuade other people to make choices and changes in their lives by using your own self as an example. And from influence, once you're able to do that, then we look at that as you've achieved some level of personal success. How do you achieve significance? That's where impact come in. How do you impact the broader community, the larger world, with the skills you gain, your value, and what you can contribute? So
great.
when you do those things, you're going to ascend the economic ladder.
And I should tell the audience that you are a wonderful speaker. And
thank you.
I've seen you speak twice.
Thank you.
That's some of the things that you cover in your speech. It's how to become the go-to person
Absolutely.
in your business or personal, professional life. So if you're interested in having Rhonda as a speaker, certainly get in touch with her. She's great. So what have you learned from women about what they believe are the biggest barriers to their professional growth?
The biggest barrier is honestly the irony of it is the two biggest things are, one, we found are systemic barriers. Those feel like they're, they're too big to tackle, right? That's the big elephant that you can't tackle. The systemic, isms, the racism, classism, sexism, the gender wage gap, those things. But I think the other side of that for women, the barriers is their belief about their ability to still progress and affect change in spite of those systemic barriers. So one is systemic, and the thing about, that is it's real. But how do we help women really see themselves as being agents of change and being able to affect change and be a causal agent in their own life in spite of those systemic barriers? So I would say the women themselves and their thinking and the systemic barriers are the two biggest.
Okay, and has this thinking, does it come from, are most of the women at Rung, have they had formal careers, or are they coming straight from high school, or are they,
one of the requirements is you are working full time. These are women in the workforce with some work history.
Okay, I'm glad you
50% of them have degrees.
So, but not necessarily in the area that they're interested in, or in the, like you said, they've hit the glass ceiling and trying to figure out
they're making transitions or looking how to advance.
So they've voiced that they've felt in the past how they've that this professionalism or this the barrier has kind of hit them. They've hit the wall, and
and they say it in that way. I mean, a lot of the language I use, oftentimes I do a ton of research in our work, and so I use research words. But what women say essentially is, I feel stuck.
Okay.
I feel like I'm just running in circles. I'm tired of the rat race. I can't a big one is, how do I achieve work-life balance? And then they get bummed out when I say you're not.
Right. I don't think it exists either.
we talk about work-life harmony or work-life integration.
Right.
But we are, truth tellers are wrong. We say forget balance.
I just call it spinning plates, because that's really what it is. Yeah,
exactly.
As soon as you've got one spinning, then something else over here. I know you're going to go over there and spin that one. So. Yeah, that's how I felt.
I don't know who misled women into thinking that
you can have it all.
Like that would be this perfectly cut pizza where every slice was the same. I was like, where'd y'all get that from?
Yeah, no, you can't. Sorry. Even men, I mean, same with them. I know, my son is, married to a teacher, and a lot of times she'll have parent-teacher conferences, and he has to take the kids, to their gymnastics and soccer classes or karate or whatever, while my daughter-in-law is doing the stuff that she has to do. So, and it's great when you do have a partner. I imagine if you're a single mother, then it's probably very, very difficult. Well, I've been a single mother, so I know, and I started a business, and that wasn't easy. So, but I started a business from home, which really helped me. Because I had control over my hours, and when I could go, pick my son up from school and stuff like that. So, if you're an entrepreneur, I think that's probably the way to go. But I imagine working for companies, a lot of them, though, I think are coming over to the other side now. Do you agree with that? Do you think they're...
Absolutely. In fact, we have not officially started, our entrepreneurship track, but we get that requested all the time. We have women, who they just want that freedom and autonomy. So they want to start a business, and we say, okay, well, slow down a minute.
Right.
Yeah, so you want to do it correctly. And so getting the skills you need and refining those skills and achieving a certain level and understanding all that comes with a business.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have a business if you don't have paying customers.
No, you can't just jump into it. I know. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have a year's worth of salary saved?
Exactly.
Okay.
And those are the things we work on. Those are things we work on.
For it. Yeah. So we now have a multi-generational workforce. So do these barriers affect millennials differently than other generations?
I think they do. I think millennials are coming. I think all generations face similar barriers, particularly, as it relates to systemic barriers and things. Millennials have a different perception in that, in their mind, they are digital natives, first of all. So a lot of things to them are so natural. So even in terms of training and skilling, they're less intimidated by it. Some of the women been in the workforce 20, 25 years, and you're talking learning, a whole new skill set. It's intimidating. I think for millennials, we have to manage the perception around, how do you go from like you're starting and you have to gain skills and achieve a certain level of understanding and mastery before you can be the CEO.
Right.
They want to go straight from I don't know to CEO.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know the path from I don't know to CEO.
Yeah.
But so I would say that's the biggest difference. It's just, I love the assertiveness and sometimes the really ambition and aspiration that millennials have. It's managing their expectations. That's the difference.
Well, it's certainly different. Yeah, and there really is. I think it's polarizing sometimes between.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I know our work ethic was way different than, we felt like we had to be at work or we would get fired. But
I know. And now millennials feel like I have to work remote or I'm not going to work for you.
That's right. Yeah, I know. It's really funny how there is kind of that gender gap kind of thing. But
within the gender.
That's right. That's right. So how do women take the first step or make the pivot to expanding their impact?
The first step really is the identity part and being able and how it aligns with their values and their strengths and interests. And they also haven't figured out what differentiates them. As I mentioned, my whole interest in this is how do you get that cut through and breakthrough, not so you can be a shameless self-promoter, but how do you stand out in a sea of sameness where there's a gazillion podcasts and a gazillion, a billion people on Facebook and LinkedIn and TikTok.
Right.
How do you say, hey, here's what I do great, here's what I can contribute to the world? And I think it starts with a defining question that I always ask myself, which was, why would anyone choose to do business or partner or even date you versus any and every other option they have available to them, including doing nothing?
Yeah.
That's the $1 million
That's
question.
The mantra that Rhonda uses in her presentations. Yeah, she makes us repeat it. You want to repeat that again?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
exactly. Yeah. Why would anyone choose to do business, partner, hire, date you versus any and every other option they have available to them, including doing nothing?
Yeah,
because doing nothing is always an option.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
And so when you question yourself in that way, then you see yourself. You don't commoditize yourself, but you see that, I do have to be more thoughtful about what I bring to the table, how I create value for other people. And so the question just helps you distill it.
Exactly. It's almost like your unique
selling proposition.
There you go. Your USP.
Unique differentiated proposition.
There you go. There you go. So I know that we talked about some of the younger girls that have gone on to be successful. I noticed on the wrong website that you do celebrate some of the successes. Can you go over a couple of those? Do you know the ones I'm referring to? You've got a couple on there.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of successes. I
Mhm.
don't know, I don't know if I can disclose names. I didn't ask for.
There were names on the website.
There were names
if
on the
they wanna go
website.
to-
Yeah,
but
okay.
that's okay. Just
Yeah, so
Just descriptions is
I
fine.
encourage people to go to the wrong website, but we've had folks. I know one of the women who she came. I believe she was working as a parking attendant, or she was working. I mean, it was really like minimum wage role, and she went through our geospatial program, and now is working as a data analyst with one of our employer partners.
Wow.
And I mean, a complete
wow.
180.
That's a 360
Yeah,
degree.
360. Yeah,
Good.
360 degree. We
Wow.
had women who were housewives and they hadn't been in the workforce and they'd only been working part time and they had sort of this hodgepodge of skills. Now, data analyst, one's training to be. She's training to be a data analyst as well for geospatial. It's interesting to see women who, I mean, would have never even thought of that career or seen themselves. And they have to realize they have both transferable skills and then also have the ability to learn, which is so key, that growth mindset that I don't know it, but I can learn it. So yeah, we love to brag on our success stories.
No,
They're all over our
one
website.
on there that said she's making 20,000 more
Oh,
than she
yeah.
was making when
we-
she first came there, and yeah, it looks.
Oh, we've had
Yeah.
people with the double and triple their salaries. I mean, really,
That's-
really interesting.
that's great.
Yeah, really
That's-
amazing
You
results.
guys are doing really, really good work. So, how do people find out about you? How does somebody? It's a parking lot attendant.
Yeah, well, I tell you, wrong. We have pretty robust recruitment program, and so we're very active on all the social media sites. We do a lot of digital marketing. We just had a campaign with a lot of the billboards and stuff. We'll be launching a campaign for our September cohorts. We admit women in cohorts,
Okay.
so. The cohort in September for women interested in advanced manufacturing, we will be plastered all over the city.
Okay. Okay.
Including radio,
Really?
with the
Okay.
radio ads
Good.
talking about wrong and talking specifically about opportunities in those careers.
Okay, that's great. I need to talk to you about that.
Okay, well, let's talk about it.
So, are you planning to expand this to other cities, or is this just in St. Louis? Or
No. Yes, just in St. Louis now.
Okay,
The St.
for
Louis
now.
will be command central. What we're doing now is getting what we call proof of concept. We have spent the
Right.
last, year and a half really trying to redesign, and now we're refining the program.
Okay.
The plan is definitely to scale. We
Okay.
are building in capacity so that we can have the successful women,
Right.
throughout the country.
Okay. So you'll be looking at other cities because
Oh, we absolutely
the show
will.
goes out to many cities
Yeah.
nationwide. So
look for
somebody
us
may
in the
be
city.
interested.
Ron coming to a city near you.
Okay. And so, are you offering any digital courses, or can they, call in? Or
Yeah.
okay.
Well, yeah, I'm glad that's one of the things we're doing to set the groundwork for our scale is we've now, whereas before we were doing in-person classes and virtual because of COVID. Now we are using a learning management system, so the coursework will be
Okay.
digital. We're building a digital campus.
That'd be great.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So that's another way that somebody that might be interested could,
Absolutely.
can do, join you anyway. So you've spoken about some strategies that women can use to become the go-to person. So can you share the 5 C's?
I will share the 5 C's very quickly. You have heard this in my presentation.
Yes.
But I will give the listeners a summary. The first C is you've got to clarify the problem, the want, the need that you're solving for. I see this as the biggest mistake, and I'm sure you're well aware with, particularly in entrepreneurship, people jump out there and say, "Oh, I got this product or I got this service," and they say, "Well, who wants it? What is it? What is it solving for?" Money only changes hands when problems are solved, right? So clarify what problem you solve, and if that's in the workplace, clarify the problem you solve in that role or the value you add to that company.
Right. Marketing 101. Find a market need and fill it.
There you
Okay.
go. There you go. And the second C is to capture their attention by flipping the script.
Mm.
And what I mean by flipping the script is so many people think that their role is to go to shout to the rooftops about their products and services, and they want to be in the spotlight. Their organization, I found it to be far more effective that instead of trying to be in the spotlight, that you be the spotlight.
Mm.
You become the spotlight for the problem you're trying to solve. Wrong is trying to close the gender wage gap. We are trying to build that wealth among women and close the wealth inequality gap. That's the problem. That's what I'll talk about.
Mm.
I'll talk about wrong as well,
Right.
but people are far more interested in what does it have to do with me.
Right.
So to capture people's attention by flipping the script. And then the third C is communicate your position. I know people try to play it safe in business and nonprofit. Like I'm not saying to intentionally be polarized and be contrarian, but people have to know where you stand.
Mhm.
What is the core idea around the work that you're doing? It takes a lot of gall for Wrong to say, we want to address the systemic barriers that are preventing women from building wealth. Some people are not going to be happy with that. We may not get donations because of that.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that's our position. So that's the third C. And then the fourth C is the no-brainer to me, but it's contribute real value. And you have to be able to know what that value is in terms of whatever you're doing. And then lastly, collaborate with others. Nobody does this alone. The Wrong for Women model is lift as we climb. So you don't climb that ladder alone, and you have to reach back and make sure you're lifting other people with you.
Okay, so when you talk about ladders, that's where the name Rung came from?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what Rung meant to
Yeah.
start with, and then I was, like I said, I looked at the website. And
Yeah. Well, it kind of worked. Wrong actually started
Sure.
off as a thrift store. Our founder had a thrift store that was
Really?
called Wrong Thrift Store.
Wow.
And so when she closed the thrift store and wanted to open and to start this nonprofit, we repurposed it in Wrong for Women, and it just so happened we knew we wanted to help women climb the economic opportunity
Wow,
ladder.
that's
So
great.
it just
Yeah.
works.
So the thrift store, did that raised funds to help young women, or what was it?
Well,
doing?
the thrift store was open and founded to help women who were in their job search and job seeking
Okay.
to get professional career attire.
Okay.
But when they
Oh.
would come in to get the clothes, they often were asking more questions about career.
Okay, interesting.
And so she found that as a need,
Interesting.
and so started Wrong for Women.
Okay, and how long ago was Wrong started?
Wrong, we just officially opened in 2020.
Okay, because you
Yeah.
did mention, I thought a
Right
couple
in
of years.
time for the pandemic. Our first cohort.
Well, you're still here. So
Yeah, we're still
must
here.
have done something right.
Exactly.
So, and you've been with them how long?
I've been with them officially since October of 2021. However, I have been with Wrong since the beginning in that I did some of the initial research around looking at models of best practices so that we could create a model that we felt would really work here in St. Louis. So I did that initial research and
Okay.
kind of was doing informal consulting. I just believed in it so much that I said, let me help.
Okay.
And I was happened to be friends and knew the person who was our current president, Leslie Gill. And so she said, just why don't you come work here?
Wow, she was lucky to get you. So, it's nonprofits. What do you feel about working for nonprofits? Is that a way to grow? I mean, I know that so you could be CEO, or you could be speaking of millennials that want to get through the CEO. I mean, what's some of the steps that you could take? I mean, do you find it? Well, I'm sure you do because that's what you've been in is nonprofits. But you find it rewarding?
I find it absolutely rewarding. And I have had an eclectic career path. So I have been in nonprofit, education, government, and corporate,
Wow.
and
Sure.
work for small and large businesses.
Okay.
The women who come to us, I hear a lot of women. I'm glad you asked this question because women say, I want to start my own business. And what are you thinking about? Well, I want to open a home for troubled kids, or I want an after school program. And I understand that they're saying they want to address a particular social issue, but not understanding that nonprofits are mission-based businesses. The operative word being mission-based business,
Right.
you still have to raise money, you
Right.
can't do
Mhm.
any good.
Mhm.
No money, no mission.
Mm-hmm.
And so how you fundraise, you still need sales skills. You still need
Mhm.
marketing skills.
Absolutely.
And I
Yeah.
think sometimes people think nonprofit is sort of the easier path of least resistance way.
no. Yeah.
It's 10 times
I
harder.
know. Some of my
I've done
clients
it
are
all.
nonprofits. So yeah, I know
It's hard work,
very hard. Yeah. And long hours too.
long
Yeah.
hours.
And, putting on a lot of events, to try and,
Mhm.
get funds and funding for different programs and, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some of the kind of fundraisers that Rung has?
We're very fortunate in that our founder is also our primary funder, and we have some really we've had some impressive grant and partnerships
Okay.
with. So we received a pretty significant federal grant of I think around $1 million or something over a course
Wow.
of several years to help women in jobs. We're just in a good space in terms of right now there's such a need for what we're doing
Mhm.
that we have a variety of grant opportunities we've taken advantage of. We have some individual donors, but we're certainly working to build that donor base.
Mhm.
I think right now we're trying not to scatter our resources in the sense that nonprofits often supplant each other, like they're duplicating services and kind of stepping on top of each other. One of Rung's core values is around collaboration. So we actually work to collaborate with other organizations, jointly writing grants, making sure that the money is well spent and well invested. So
Okay. So if there's some corporations out there that could be interested in being donors or.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And obviously you have a board of directors.
We have
so-
a board of directors.
Right.
Yeah, we are 501c3. We
Mhm.
now operate sort of as a private operating foundation because primarily our funding is coming from one major source. However, we do have corporations who do fund us and are interested in,
Right.
please contact us. We will take the money.
Yeah, and obviously it's doing good things.
We
Right.
definitely, and that's one of the things we plan to do as we scale and grow, or even before then. We want to show employers and the community the return on investment.
Right.
How does it benefit the community when women advance and grow in their careers and they become more contributors?
Well, and I think
our
it benefits them too because it gives them a way more diverse workforce.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And do they offer internships? Are they paid internships or?
We do have some employer partners who offer paid apprenticeships.
Okay.
Internships, typically they're offering, and that's for students in college. Our women have to be 25 and older.
Okay.
And so we do have
okay.
employers who offer pre-apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship programs, which are largely like on-the-job training.
Right.
So kind of they get to try before they buy, where somebody's working
Okay.
3 to 6 months, and then they will transition into a role full time.
Well, that's great. So when they do the apprenticeship, is it 5 days a week?
It's full time.
Oh, it's
It's a
full-time.
paid full time. You're just
Oh,
doing it as a trainee.
Okay.
almost. Mhm.
Okay. And then do they keep in touch with you? And does the employer tell you
yeah.
how they're doing? Do they have to kind of grade them and that kind of thing? or-
Well, they don't grade them as much, but that is baked into our program. Our intention is to support the women we serve, but also the employers. So we're focused on retention. When they're in the job 90 days,
Mhm.
we're with them, and then for 4 years after they get the job, we have
Oh,
a
wow.
member success, what we call our member success network.
Wow.
So it's a professional association of all of our sort of graduates.
Wow. That's
where
great.
we're continuing to work with them on their career advancement, professional development, and financial education.
Okay. So supposing somebody goes for an apprenticeship and it's just not what they thought it was going to be, do they come back to you and you help them do you make them stay there or do you help them with their problems?
We haven't had that situation yet, but I will say for the companies I know that have apprenticeships, the neat thing about the way some of them are designed is your apprenticeship is more a generalist. And as you're in an apprenticeship, you get introduced to job opportunities within the company. So then you can kind of pick, you're like, oh, I'm more suited for this particular role rather than this one. So far we haven't had anybody to say, oh no.
Okay. But they do have that choice just because you sent them
with
there.
some employers. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and the employers are okay with that. So
Well, some of the
move them
employers
to
have,
another role?
well, some of the employers have designed their apprenticeship programs like that,
Okay.
so that we train you on general skills.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
you
and then
decide which
you pay.
role.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wish I had that opportunity.
Yeah, particularly for there's
Yeah.
some good opportunities for tech and advanced manufacturing for that.
Yeah. So when you say tech, what other than geophysical,
Mhm.
what kind of tech? I mean, are you teaching coding? Are you?
So
Okay.
the jobs in tech that we offer are software, development,
Okay.
IT help support desk
Wow.
type jobs,
Okay.
information security or cyber security. Catching the
Really good.
hackers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
New
project
fields.
management. The web developers, of course, that's very
Right. Right.
the
Yeah.
back
Sure.
end and front end.
Mhm.
The things we're sort of using every day and
Mhm.
we're swimming in that we don't realize somebody
Right.
is behind
Someone's
the
going to
scenes.
be there.
Somebody's
Right.
coding.
Mhm.
Somebody.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. And so in those fields, there are very few women in those fields, or I mean, have you done the research to show? How did
Oh,
you
yeah.
decide on those fields?
Yeah,
This is-
we did the research.
Okay.
It's severely underrepresented for women of color.
Okay.
Women in general certainly are underrepresented. Some of them more than others. I would say, particularly for the ones, I think in coding, software development, there's such a small presence of women. Women tend to gear towards the more creative side, so
Mhm.
they're either in the web development.
Mhm.
Sometimes project management that's more,
Mhm.
they seem more women friendly,
Mhm.
but we're
Right.
seeing an increasing number of women who are saying, look, I want to code. I want to,
Mhm.
I want to develop apps and things like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's growing.
Yeah. That seems like you really need to have a certain part of your brain, to be able to pick up on that type
Mhm.
of a job, I would think, So,
Yeah, absolutely.
so do
Absolutely.
you test them ahead of time?
We do.
Okay.
We have an assessment that we are doing that for our new cohort that starts actually next Monday.
Okay.
This is our 4th cohort, and those women went through a slightly more rigorous admissions process. So they had a test in basic math, reading,
Oh,
problem
wow.
solving, and basic tech skills.
Wow. Okay. So I wouldn't I wouldn't be able to.
I had to take all
Math.
the tests.
Oh no.
That's part of my quality
Well,
assurance.
you're
I do
smart.
everything, and I was scared. I asked the staff, "Did I pass? Can I go here?" So they said I passed. So
They said you passed.
I think they were humoring me. They never showed me my test results.
Oh yeah, because I would think you couldn't just throw somebody into that line of work and then not,
You want to increase their likelihood of success. So.
Absolutely, yeah. When you say basic math, what does that entail?
No, that really is. Use a calculator. Like, do you know 391?
Oh, you can use a
400?
calculator. Oh, okay, then I'd be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's my math is, oh gosh.
Math and reading were easy. It's
My
when
daughter-in-law is a math teacher, a high school math teacher with a master's degree in it. So yeah, she actually.
You would pass it with no problem.
Oh shoot. So I have a couple of fun questions.
Sure.
So where would you like to be in 5 years?
Oh, 5 years. I'll tell you where I'd like Wrong to be, because I really right now I'm pouring my heart into ensuring, like I said, that we get the proof of concept so that we could scale.
Mm-hmm.
So in 5 years, I want Wrong to be a movement. I want us to be really poised to launch in multiple cities, and I want more and more women understanding the need, and for them to get involved in helping women get more parity around pay and wealth.
Well, I know you, Rhonda. I'm sure that's good. It's
going to
happen. Absolutely. So I thank you for being my guest today. And let's tell the listeners again how they can learn more about Wrong, and maybe contact you if they're interested. And
absolutely. I'm proud of our newly branded relaunched website, www.wrongforwomen.org. If you go to the site, I am on the site. You can click my name and get my email and LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram. It's Rhonda L. Gray.
Okay. Thanks again, Rhonda. You've been really, really helpful to the
Thank you. for
women
having
out
me.
there that want to move to the, just get out of what they're doing and move to the next level and just do better, all around in life and in business. And
Mhm.
you're an inspiration. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the work you're doing, Diane.
So, yeah, listeners, please reach out to Rhonda to learn more about how she helps women at Run, and to me, Diane at promoexperts.com for your promotional product needs. And also, if you're a women business owner and you'd like to be on the Women in Business show, please email me, Diane at promoexperts.com.